Hey, good afternoon and welcome everybody back to DadBear.DIY. I appreciate you stopping by to check out this video. Today we are going to be taking care of replacing some worn and corroded water supply valves for both the kitchen sink and both of the toilets we have in our house. So the reason we're doing this is because we recently changed home insurers, and after their inspection they requested that these items be replaced because they showed some corrosion, and I'm okay with that. And so I'm going to do that. Just so you know, if you ever have to do something like this, you are going to have to supply the insurance company with a copy of the invoice if you have somebody else do the work, or a copy of the receipt, including the parts that were purchased to replace, and as well as photographs of the work once it's completed. So for this job, we're going to have to do a couple of things. One thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to have to turn the water supply off to the house, because we're actually going to be taking out where you would normally turn the water off so that you could replace a line or something. We're going to be removing that stoppage, so we need to stop water from coming into the house. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The next thing that we're going to need, of course, are the valves. So I have two valves that I have to replace in the kitchen sink, and they look like this. I got these at my local big box store. And then one valve for each of the toilets. So these are going to come out of the wall, and then the water supply line to the toilet is going to run up like that. So we're going to replace these. One thing we are doing as far as the toilets go, one of our toilets has a 3/8 inch water supply connection to the toilet, and the other one has a 1/2 inch connection to the toilet. Now, since I'm replacing both these valves, I'm going to make sure they're both the same size. So I've also had to purchase a replacement hose that now has the 3/8 inch connection so that it will fit the new valve right here. So tools we're going to need to do this. To turn the water off to the house, I'm going to be using what they call a water key. And depending on where you live, what county you're in, there may be rules against homeowners actually using these. So make sure you know whether it's legal for you to do this in your county before you go out and get one. Our last place that we lived at, you weren't allowed to have one. So they didn't want you, I guess, coming out to turn the water back on if they turned the water off. So, but if you don't have a water key, sometimes you can also use a wrench, an adjustable wrench, or vice grips or whatnot. But we actually are going to be using these to tighten up our valve connections. So that's all you need. You got your valves, you've got any hoses you need to replace, a water key or a set of pliers to turn off and turn your water supply back on once you're done, and then you may need wrenches or pliers to tighten your connections. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start by going out to the water supply box, the water meter, and I'll show you guys how to turn off the water supply into your home. So thanks for checking us out. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and that notification bell so you can get updates anytime that we put any new content out. These are just the sort of projects that I have this website for. So we're gonna get out, have a good time, take this and hopefully not get too sore crawling under the sink. All right, well, this is where our water meter is, and unfortunately we've got rain has of course moved some sand and soil, so we're gonna have to uncover this before we can open it. So that's what we're gonna do right now. That should be good enough to be able to get that out. I'm going to go get some bug spray, and I'll go get the water key, and I'll show you what's up next. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spray some ant and roach spray around the hole where the ants are. That should hopefully keep them underground while we do this. Okay, so this is what the inside of our water meter looks like. Now, I have had to open this up before, and the first time I had to open it up, this entire thing was actually filled with sand. And that's just from water, from rain, water draining to the road, you know, carries sand with it, and it finds any crevice it can come through. So either around the edges or through that hole that we used to pry up the opening, and it just gradually fills. And this thing was actually filled the first time that I ever opened this up, and I completely dug it out in order to be able to find the valve to turn the water off to the house. So it's not as bad this time, but I am going to try to clear some of this stuff away. Not a whole lot, but just some. Okay. Then I will show you where the actual valve is. It's going to be hard to see with the sun where it's at right now, but this right here is our valve. Okay. And all it is it's a slot valve. Okay. So you've got this ridge right here. Right, and that is what our water key is going to fit over. Now this is a quarter turn valve. Okay, so you only have to turn it 90 degrees. So we're going to slide that in just like that. Right, and then we are going to turn that, I believe it's counterclockwise to close it. Nope, that is incorrect. It's going to be clockwise. Okay. Make sure that's closed all the way. Put too much pressure on it. I'm going to go ahead and reopen and then close again. Make sure I got 90 degrees. Okay, so there. And now the water supply should be cut off to the house. All right, we're in the kitchen, and you want to use cold water. It doesn't really do you any good to use hot water for this, because this is water that's just going to be clearing the pipes, okay? And there you go. So we got that on, and we got no water. Okay, no water. Do that, yep. Okay, so the water is not running anymore. And I've gone ahead and I've flushed both toilets. because we want to empty those tanks before we disconnect anything. Otherwise you'll have water pouring down on you. All right, so we'll turn that back off and we'll set up to do our, we're going to do the toilet first, and then we'll come in and do the sink. All right, guys, we're in the bathroom. Like I said, we're going to start with changing out the toilet valve. And one of the things I did not mention when I told you what tools you're going to need, but I'm going to highly recommend, you don't need it, you can always just clean up afterward, but a towel to keep under for any residual water that drips out from the tanks is a good idea. I wouldn't use a nice towel. I'm going to use an old beach towel, and we're going to use that, and we're going to start from there. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect that hose from the tank to the valve, and you don't need to do that, but in this case, like I mentioned, I'm actually replacing that valve with one that has a different size that requires a different hose, so I'm going to be replacing that hose. That should just be residual pressure that's in the pipes. I'm going to go ahead and close this valve, so I can go ahead and pull this off and let it drain down. Set that aside. I'm going to pause for a second because I'm going to grab a couple paper towels, and I'm actually going to dip it down in that hole to try to take whatever water I can out of that valve. And all I'm doing is taking some paper towels. I'm going to dip it down in this hole, and I'm going to try to wick or absorb all the water that I can out of the valve. And I'm going to try something real quick. I'm going to turn this on to see if there's still any residual pressure. There is a little bit. I'm going to continue to wick. Hopefully that will empty out. Otherwise, we may not have gotten the water all the way off, which is kind of disappointing. And it's still filling up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that valve. And I'm going to have to go back out and make sure that I actually got that valve turned all the way off. Let me go ahead and wick some more of this out. It's just the slightest amount that's coming through, but you got to, over time, it's going to put out, of course it's going to put out enough water that it's going to be a problem. So, let me run out and double check that. Okay, I think that's about as good as I'm going to be able to get it, which I find kind of disappointing, but that's what we're going to have to work with. So, in order to reduce the amount of time that we're going to have any kind of seepage come through there, I want to go ahead and pre-stage my valve. And when I say pre-stage the valve, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go ahead and connect the valve to the hose. Okay? And then get the valve ready to replace. Now what I'm going to be doing is, and hopefully I got the right thing here, it's a compression sleeve. So when we take the old valve off, pull the valve, remove the compression spring if it's stuck on there, or this compression ring, pull it off, and then slide the new one on, place this back, and tighten it down. So that's the plan. And hopefully we won't have any leaks. I don't believe I'm going to need any Teflon tape for this. I'm probably going to have some people that say I should always use Teflon tape, but we're going to see what happens. Okay. All right. So that's what we're going to do. I'm even going to go ahead and hook this up to the toilet and just kind of keep it out of the way. I'm not going to tighten it all the way so that I can rotate this, but I'm going to get it at least started. And we should be, well, at least I hope. I don't know if that's going to be long enough now. Dadgummit. All right, well, I guess we're going to learn today. All right. Well, wish me luck. All right. Okay, so our hose from the toilet to the valve is a couple of inches short. This is a 9-inch hose. The previous one was a 12-inch. I really thought the 9-inch would be able to fit, so we're going to have to replace that real quick, so I'll get back. Okay. So I got a little lucky. The hose that was on the other commode was slightly longer. Not quite 12 inches, but it's more than 9. And it will actually fit on here and allow the valve to reach. So I didn't have to run to the store to grab anything new, which is great. And now I just need to, I should just have to tighten this down. And then we'll be good to go. I actually tilted the valve a little bit toward the toilet too to take some of that angle away. Give it a little bit more direct line. Okay. Again, I did not use Teflon tape on the valve. That may end up being a mistake, and I may have to come back and remedy that. This is on nice and tight. And these are just quarter turn valves that I've got. So this should be open and this is closed. So right now I am not seeing any leakage. So we finally got the last of that pressure out of the water pipes. So that's good. All right. So ran into a little bit of a complication there. Not too bad. Got lucky that I didn't have to run to the store to replace this. Now what I'm actually going to do is, because I took this off the other toilet and this one was really too long for it, we also have a bidet attached to it, so it gives me about a 2-inch extension, so I should be absolutely fine using this on the other one. I got lucky there. So that is changing the valve out for your toilet. Okay, so I'm not going to bother to show you guys the other toilet since you've seen how it's done here. So the next part of the video will be doing the kitchen valves, which will be a little bit more complicated just because there's more attached to it. But otherwise, we will see you in a moment. All right, guys, we're in the kitchen and getting ready to do the valves under the kitchen sink. Let me go ahead and start with prep for this. Of course, you're going to want to take out anything you've got stored under your kitchen sink. You can see I got a towel out, and as you've seen me use before, because of the way the cabinet's raised off the ground, this can be a pretty uncomfortable position to work from. So if you've got some sort of pad, this is a foam pad, to help make it a little bit more comfortable, you probably want to use that. So real quick, I'm going to try to show you what we've got going on, and then I'll try to get the camera positioned in a good spot where it'll be able to see what's happening. Okay, so we got two valves, of course, one for hot water and one for cold water. Now, these valves are different, of course, than, let me get that swung around, than the bathroom valves, and that's the hot water valve. And as you can see, there are two connections to that. One goes up to the faucet, the other one goes to the dishwasher. And over here, this is the cold water valve. I'm going to try to get it to focus. Hopefully it will. And we've got two outputs for that. We've got the one that goes up to the faucet, and then that copper line you see there goes to the water supply in our refrigerator. You can see it goes into the wall right there and goes around. Okay, so real quick, let's talk about a couple of the challenges of this particular layout. I don't know who came up with it. Doesn't make sense to me, but I don't know if you can see that. There are two electrical sockets directly beneath that valve. So if you've got a leak from that valve, that's probably not a great thing. So what I've done is I've taken some plastic moving tape, and after I unplugged the garbage disposal in the dishwasher, I started at the bottom and I layered it like shingles so that should we get some water drip down, it should just roll off and I don't have to worry about it getting into the sockets. So that's a safety thing. And of course, once we're done and everything's good to go and I make sure that we don't have any leaks, then I'll remove that tape. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm sorry for the turning around and everything, but we're going to disconnect these hoses to the faucet, dishwasher, and to the refrigerator water supply. And then we're going to remove those valves. So let me get the camera set up and I'll be back in a moment. All right, guys, I tried to get that set up in the best place and give you guys some light to be able to see, but I'm really not sure how well that's going to work. So I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and start removing the lines to the faucet first. I move my towel to make sure that it's underneath any water that might drip out, any residuals that is. And I'm going to go ahead and close these valves just so that if we do, we shouldn't have any more pressure in the system, but just making sure. I don't know if the hot water heater actually maintains any kind of pressure or anything. I'm sure it's got something. one's much more cooperative than the one in the bathroom. All right. So that was just standing water. That was water that was in the pipe that once air got in there, it was able to flush out. And that's why I taped up those sockets over there. So when that happens with the hot water, we're not getting water in the sockets. Because that seems like most assuredly what will happen. Goodness. All right, let's get that new one on there. Okay, so like our valve we used in the bathroom, these are also quarter turn valves, so you should only have to turn these 90 degrees. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in the shut position. This is actually, I think, going to work out really well because remember, because of this rigid line, we want, this is going to come out of the wall like from here, so it's going to connect to the wall here, and we want this connector that will line up with the rigid refrigerator water supply to be facing that direction. So this is the way that it should, and we want to make sure that it stays oriented in that direction when we tighten it up. Okay, so we're going to slide that on, and we're going to start tightening this up. I haven't had any luck removing these old compression springs, so I'm really just hoping that everything seals up really well. Of course, we'll find out. That one's in there. I am really hoping I've got the only one of these I'm a little concerned about is this rigid one. And I just want to make sure that I'm still tight enough on there. I feel like I am, but again, just a little concerned, hopefully. Now for the one I'm least looking forward to because of its proximity to those electrical outlets. I think I'm going to secure power to those plugs. right, wish me luck. Hopefully we don't get any water dripping here. Okay. We do. And it is just missing the outlets, thank God. Hey, one thing I want to tell you guys, this is another maybe a little tip. If you do this job and you're getting ready to test to see if you have any leaks, make sure you open the valve and turn on the faucets. That way, if you do have a leak, you're not having the full back pressure of the system pushing on that leak and pushing a whole bunch of water out from where the leak is. You'll only have a portion of that pressure because water will be running. So, like when I open the valves to the toilets and I turn the water supply back on, if I can get back in and see that there is a leak while the tank on the toilet is filling, it won't be putting out as much water than if the tank was already full and, or the valve was closed. So something else to keep in mind. We are just about done with this though, so there we go. All right. Okay, so everything's hooked back up. I'm gonna move this back over. I'm gonna go turn the water on and see how we're looking. All right, everybody. Well, we got it done. I went out, I turned on the water, and came back in and checked. Both of our toilets had no leaks, which is great. Came in and checked the kitchen out, and had a little bit of a leak coming from the cold water side. So I went back and turned the water off, came back inside, and doubled down on tightening where it connects to the water line, and went back, turned the water back on, came back in, and we have no leak. So I just needed to put a little bit more on that one. Again, when I did that, remember I turned the valves on and I turned the faucet on so that there was less pressure at that valve than if the faucet was turned off or the valves were turned off at the toilet. That gives me a chance to see a small leak rather than a leak that's under full pressure from the water main. But we got all 4 of them changed out. Everything is working fine, and really glad to see it. Now, I know, like I said, I did not change those compression rings out. Again, some people are probably going to have a problem with that. Just to let you know, I tried everything I could to get those things off. I tried using pliers to get them to get off, and I even tried kind of like a slide hammer technique, and I could not get them off. So I'll just have to keep an eye on that, and know that if we do develop a leak at any time in the future on those valves, that's something I may have to do. And to get those off, it may take me cutting those collars off and then taking a Dremel tool and cutting those compression rings off. But right now, everything is working fine. Again, we're going to keep an eye on it. If you're doing something like this in the days afterward, as you're walking around your house, if you've ever been able to notice that you can, if you can ever listen and hear what sounds like running water somewhere when you don't think you have anything turned on, you may have a leak, so you need to go check your stuff out. So I want to thank you guys for coming and checking this video out. It is something you can do yourself. If you're nervous about doing it, I totally don't blame you. I mean, anytime you deal with, with something like turning the water to your house off, and then you do a repair and suddenly it gets way out of your ability to do. Now you've got no water to your house and no telling when when a plumber, a professional, can come out to fix it. It's stressful. So if it's not something you're comfortable doing, go ahead and call a plumber to come out and take a look at it. It may not be that much, but with labor today, there's really not a call for a plumber that's not going to cost you some money. So these valves and everything cost me about, I think it was $7 a piece. The hose was, no, sorry, the valves were $10 a piece. The valves were $10 a piece. The hose was, I think $7. Might have been around the other way. So we're looking at about 50 bucks. And that's a lot cheaper than a plumber. So anyway, if you're going to do it yourself, take your time. Make sure you clear your stuff. Again, we had the electrical concern with those sockets right there under that pipe. I covered those up. The tape did its job. It kept water from getting into those receptacles. Was able to take that off, turn everything back on, didn't have any issues, and everything that was plugged into those, the dishwasher and the garbage disposal, all work like they're supposed to. So thank you for checking out this video. Again, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you like what we're putting out at the channel, please hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell so you can get updates when we got new content coming out. I'm going to be putting out stuff as much as I can. I know this has been a slow year so far, but we're working on it, okay? You guys take care. Again, just a disclaimer, I'm not a professional. This is not a video to tell you to go out and do what I did. I am only doing this for chronicling my process of what I did, so you guys can see what's involved. So don't do this, as a legal disclaimer. This for entertainment purposes only. So thank you for stopping by. You guys take care of yourselves and take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon.